We are ready to get started. The floor is yours, Laura. Take it away.
Awesome. So I will share my screen, but I'll introduce myself first. So I'm Laura Campagna. I'm Senior Director of Place-Based Strategies and Business Innovations. I am doing building connection, mind and body connection. We've been talking a lot about doing stuff trauma-based and for ourselves. So this one, I really wanted to be focused on your own personal growth. So we'll get a chance to focus on some meditation. We'll do some breathing and just really get a chance to kind of connect. I realize it's been a long day, so we're gonna start with some stretches. So I'll share my screen and then we'll get started. Perfect. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So Leslie will be my buddy helping me out here. So if you guys have questions or add stuff in the chat, she'll go ahead and let me know. That way we will get started. So again, welcome to today's Building Body and Mind Connection. What we'll be doing today, and this group, is we're going to start with some stretching. So I've realized it's been a long day. We're probably all tired of sitting. So we'll do a little bit of stretching. We're going to move on to some breathing exercises. We'll talk about what mind and body connection means and how it comes to play for you. And then we will do a meditation and we'll allow some time for some journaling. The group is a little bit bigger than I expected. So obviously not everyone will get to share, but we'll open it up to those who do want to share some of the stuff that stood out to you. So for stretching, let's just start with our necks first. So we'll do clockwise 3 times. And as you're stretching, just focus on your breathing, because I know for me, I tend to hold my breath a lot, or I'll clench my jaw throughout the day. So just really focus on breathing through your stretching. And I'm creaking and popping, so I don't know if you guys are doing the same. And we'll go left to right. We'll do that 3 times. And like I mentioned, I don't know if I'm the only one here, but I tend to clench my jaw a lot. So let's open and I pop. So I don't know, I was doing a meditation and she mentioned like the stressors that we feel. And she said, you might find yourself clenching your jaw. And I was like, oh, I'm doing that right now. So really focus on that. We'll do that a couple of times. And let's get our arms moving. We'll get them up. We'll do the W 3 times. And let's bring it across one side and the other. Bring it behind our heads. The other side. And if you have a back to your chair, then go ahead and use it. And spin your back a little. That always seems to help me release. Ooh. So hopefully that got you moving a little bit and we won't have anybody falling asleep. So what we're going to do is what I wanted to talk about with the mind-body connection. After we do some breathing, I'll actually walk you through what the mind-body connection is. But I thought we could start by practicing different breathing exercises that could really help us calm. Some of you may know some of these exercises and some of them may be new to you. So we're going to try them several times. And for those of you who are interested, then I will send you a list of these as well as like the step-by-step how to do it. So the first one we're going to do is the alternate nostril breathing. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take your right hand. You're going to take 3 fingers. You're going to take your thumb and you're going to block your right nostril. And you're going to breathe in through your left for the count of 8. And then you're going to switch. So you're going to cover your left nostril and you're going to breathe out through the right. It's gonna feel funny at first. So if you've never done it, expect it's gonna be a little funky. So let's breathe in. We'll breathe in for 8. And then cover and breathe out through the other side. Feels weird, right? Now keep that left nostril covered. It does kind of tickle your nose. I saw Gene laugh. It does kind of feel funky. So keep the left side covered. Now we're going to breathe in through the right and do the same thing. So are you ready? So what it does, it really forces you to think about when you're breathing in and breathing out, which we technically tend to not do. Breathing is just a part of what we do. So we'll do it again. We'll do 2 more times on each side. Are you ready? So breathe in. And then breathe in again on the right. And breathe out the left. And we'll do 1 last time on each side. So breathe in. Cover and then breathe out the right. And then breathe in on your right. And breathe out on the left. So it feels funky, right? I feel like my nose is gonna run. But what that does is it really forces you to think like about breathing in and breathing out, particularly because you're alternating. That's like me when I'm trying to, that's why I don't do Zumba or any of those classes, because the hand-eye coordination of where things are supposed to go is not my forte. So thinking about that, like when you're finding yourself like that, just being able to focus where you're going to take in the breath, where you're going to take out the breath. The next one we're going to try is Ocean's breath. And so what you're going to do is you're going to breathe in through your nose. So I'll show you once. You're going to breathe in really deep. And when you breathe out, we're going to make a sound. So like H-A-A-H. So sound. So we're going to do that 3 times. And then the 4th time, you're going to do the same sound, but with your mouth closed. And you're going to feel how different it feels, the vibration. And what this is supposed to do is supposed to be a calming and relaxing breath. So think about, like Ron had given the example, someone cut you off or things are not going great. This is a great breath to kind of get you back. So we're going to breathe in for 6 and then we're going to breathe out. Ha. You ready? We'll go again. And place your hands like on your diaphragm. You should be feeling the bottom part and not just your chest. So we'll breathe in again. And we'll do 1 last one. And so now you're going to do the same thing, but you're not going to open your mouth. So you're going to exhale through your nose, but you're still going to make that humming sound. So it's going to feel funky and it's going to give you kind of the tickles. So I like that I see Dre Jean as one of my people on my screen. So it's nice. I can see that reaction. So breathe in. We'll do it 1 last time. So it's kind of difficult. So the whole point of these breathing exercises, it's really to get you thinking. Because again, how many times do we find ourselves with the whole point of body-mind connection? We find ourselves in a situation where we are so stressed that the first thing to start is our heart starts racing. We tend to talk a lot faster. We're finding ourselves out of breath. So this sort of just brings you back to that space of, I need to get back in the space so then I can think. Because once our mind affects our body, it makes it a lot more difficult to come back into that zone. And so thinking about that, we're going to do a cooling breath. And this one is just breathing in for 8, holding for 4 and breathing out for 8. And what this does is it actually helps to release any neck strain, head strain. And what I found interesting is it helps with your digestive system. So sometimes when we're feeling really stressed, I know for me, I will feel it in the pit of my stomach. So this is a perfect breath to kind of take in and be able to relax ourselves. So we're going to breathe in for 8. We're going to hold for 4, and we're going to breathe out for 8. You ready? And we'll do that 2 more times. We'll do that one last time. The next one we're going to try is the hissing breath. And so like if you do baby yoga or yoga with kids, we call it the snake breath. So just think when you breathe in through your nose and when you breathe out, you're going to keep your teeth together and you're going to hiss. So we're going to breathe in for 8, and then we're going to breathe out and hiss until you've completely exhaled everything. Ready? I'm loving Georgine's face. This is making my day. We'll do it 2 more times. You ready? And then the bellows breath is very similar to the nostril breathing. So we're not going to do the solar or lunar because they're the opposite. You only focus on one, so I'll walk you through it. But the bellows breath is you're going to close one side and only breathe in and out on the other side. So the same way we've been feeling with a cold coming in where you're only able to breathe on one side, that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to do it on the right twice, and then we'll do it on the left twice. So just cover your left nostril. We'll breathe in. We'll do one more time. And we'll switch to the other side. And we'll do one more. And this one, the humming breath, I expect you're going to feel kind of funky. So be prepared. You're going to breathe in for 6, but then you're going to cover your ears and breathe out for 8. And what you're going to do is feel that humming vibration, which really helps with your circulation and helps to release that jaw strain that I talked about that we feel when we're feeling stress, which could then cause headaches and other tension. So we're going to breathe in for 6. Then you're going to cover your ears while you breathe out. You ready? Could you tell a difference? How you feel kind of that vibration? We'll do it one more time. And then the lunar breath is the same as the alternate nostril breathing, but you only stick to breathing in through, we already did it, so we won't do it, but I wanted to walk you guys through it. You breathe in only through the left and out the right the entire time. And when you do that, what that actually helps is it helps with mental disturbances. It helps with mucus if you have like congestion or feeling sick. It also helps if you're feeling sluggish. So if you're tired or just not really awake, that's the best breath to do. So think if I'm sluggish, the lunar breath, and then the solar breath is going to be the opposite. You're going to breathe in through the right and out through the left. And that helps with heart disease. So if you have like people who have like high blood pressure, which can affect, their heart, that would be the best one. And then the active yogic breathing is basically taking in deep breaths in and out while you're in motion. So think about when you're walking, really being cognizant of how you're breathing in, how you're taking in oxygen, how you're letting oxygen out. And so what is the mind-body connection? So what I mentioned to you earlier as we got started is really that connection between how our emotions affect the way our bodies respond. So how many times have any of us felt, and I'll speak for myself too, like under a lot of stress, where all of a sudden my body's responding. I have tension in my neck. I tend to clench my jaw. I have tension in my shoulders. We get that pit in our stomach. So all those things where we're feeling that mental strain then affects the way our bodies respond. And so being cognizant of what that means when we're thinking about how are my thoughts, emotions, my feelings going to affect the way my body is going to respond. And you're going to notice it. I think the big thing when we think about mind-body connection is really recognizing, I'm feeling this. What can I do to step away? Or what can I do before it gets to that point where then it's affecting my body? And so for those who are into the chakras a lot, there's the belief of, right, if we have this tightness in different parts or things that we're holding in, or we're not communicating clearly, or all these other mental things that we're holding, then affects the way our body responds. So how many times have any of us gone to the doctor or done something where we didn't get an answer, but it was because we were having physical responses to what was going in our mind? Leslie, I saw you unmute. Do you want to mention something?
I know you see what I see. So I just wanted to let you know, nobody in this group has ever been stressed. So,
Right? Okay.
Okay.
So there's no reason to give any examples, right? No one here is feeling any of that at all. Yeah. So really thinking of that. And Leslie, if anything pops up on the chat, just let me know for questions or whatever, because I'm not pulling that up since I'm sharing my screen. But yeah, so how many times have we felt that? How many times have we felt that stress that then affects our bodies? And for those of us who are women, many times, even something as a heart attack will not be seen as a heart attack because we will feel it elsewhere. We will feel it in our stomach. We'll feel nauseous. We'll feel headaches. And we go into the doctor, particularly for those of us who are of color too. You add another component, right? But you go into the doctor and they're like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with you. Well, because you're not showing the exact symptoms that they're looking for. Our bodies respond differently. And so I think being aware of how that affects you, like just pulling in like, okay, where is this coming from? Where is this pain coming from? Is it something that's physical, or is my mental health really affecting, my physical health? And what are the things that we can look at when it comes to coping mechanisms, right? Whether it's breathing, meditation, even just being aware. Like many times it's being aware of, oh my gosh, my jaw's killing me. I've been clenching it all day. I need to take a step back. I need to have a sip of water. I need to do a stretch. And again, what are the things that we're doing that is then affecting our body, right? And Leslie, you won't agree with this one because there's no stress, right? But I thought this picture was a perfect picture of kind of how we are dealing with our lives. I feel like I'm constantly with multiple things going on at the same time. So the biochemistry of our mind-body connection is really, like I said, how does stress, how does depression, how does anger, how does frustration, how do all these emotions affect our body? And recognizing, and it's just that biochemistry of our body. If we didn't get enough sleep and we're agitated, we're not going to respond the greatest. We're going to be pretty, short, not patient, gonna, really not respond in the greatest way. But the same way too, we didn't feed our physical bodies by getting enough sleep. If we're not feeding our mind the same way by giving ourselves that rest, giving ourselves that moment to reflect and come back, we're not going to respond the best, right? Our bodies are going to feel in pain. Were you going to say something, Leslie?
Yeah, I was actually going to encourage Sandra to go ahead and talk a little about her comments. Sandra, would you mind?
Oh, not at all. What had happened was I had started a new exercise program. This was several years ago. And among other things, and I was working for Children's Bureau at that time as well, though, you know, I left for many years, but at the same time, I completely reorganized the chart room for one of our mental health centers. So I was lifting and moving double handfuls of charts for like days. And my arms ached, both of them. You know, and the classic symptom, and you always hear about heart attacks and things like that, is that it's always down your left arm. So since it was down both of my arms, I ignored it. I just kept thinking, oh, it's just muscle ache. You overstrained yourself. You did this, you did that, you did the other thing. Well, thankfully, I was sharing a house with friends at the time, because finally, after about 4 nights of this, when it ached just enough that I couldn't rest or sleep, I got up. I should have known I was in trouble, but it took me 30 minutes just to put some clothes on. And I knocked on my roommate's door and said, I think I'm going to drive myself to the hospital. And I collapsed. And I ended up with a 92% blocked coronary artery. And had she not called an ambulance, I would have died. So the point is that don't ignore stress symptoms. Just don't do it. You don't need to panic. You don't need to overreact, but please, please do not ignore them. You know?
No, thank you for sharing that. How scary. And it's that, right? Like we think everything's okay. And we tend to rationalize a lot, especially when our physical body is responding a certain way. Oh, it's because I didn't do this, or I should have done this
Exactly.
better.
And I was too young for this to happen. I mean, this was several years ago. I was way too young for this sort of thing to happen. And I discovered years afterwards that there was a long family history of this sort of thing that I was unaware of. You know,
Wow.
so that's something else that you need to do, is take that into account.
Thank you for sharing that. It is that, like, how many times do we ignore that and rationalize, like, oh, it's not a big deal, but it really is. So making that connection, you said it
Exactly.
perfectly.
Exactly. And I learned my lesson from that. As I said, I don't overreact. I'm not becoming a hypochondriac, you know, or looking for symptoms where they don't exist or exaggerating them, but I also don't ignore anything either.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So in not ignoring our stuff, what are the things that we could do to help ourselves, right? Yoga, meditation, journaling is huge. I always say I'm going to, but I don't take enough time to do that. All those things affect our fight, flight, freeze response. How many times, if we haven't gotten enough sleep, or if we're under a lot of stress, do we automatically get defensive when someone says something, or just really shut down and freeze and don't want to respond to something, or, you know, do those things where you're just really struggling, you know? So I think it's doing those things, recognizing that affects our relaxation response, that affects our ability. If we're not resting, our digestive system is hugely impacted by our stress. I know, again, I had mentioned the example, how many times we feel stress and automatically we're feeling it in the pit of our stomach, right? We are feeling that, you know, gut feeling like someone punched me in my stomach and I'm just not feeling right. And so along with yoga and meditation, some of the things that are really recommended is doing guided imagery, right? Having this conversation with yourself, talking yourself through that situation. I do this a lot with my kids when they start going down this sort of road of worst case scenario. We talk about, okay, let's really go there. What is the absolute worst that could happen? Okay, if that happens, is the whole world going to fall apart? No. Okay, then. And that's the absolute worst. So let's talk about all the other options that could be happening. And so really with guided imagery is really, again, talking yourself through these feelings, talking yourself through, again, if I don't complete this, or if I'm feeling this way, if I take one of the things that I have personally set as a goal for this year is really listening to my body. I don't like running late to meetings, but if I have to take 2 minutes to run to the restroom, I'm going to do that because we have to listen to our bodies, right? We have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves instead of always pouring from an empty cup. And so how does guided imagery affect us? It helps to relax our bodies. Again, you go through these, this is the worst that could happen. What are the chances of that? Very minimal. What else could happen? What are the better options here? What are the things that I could do? Which helps relax your body, helps your nervous system, which again is how you respond. If I take a moment to take a step back, I'm going to be a lot nicer when I respond rather than if someone's in my face and I'm automatically responding. Leslie, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to share with everybody, and I'm sure you can probably read it, what people do, just to help themselves, reading, hiking, taking walks, and yeah, this is also great.
Feeding yourself, right? How many times are we not doing that? We're feeding our physical bodies, but how can we feed, our minds and our mental bodies to allow, again, to positively affect our nervous system, which affects our immune system? How many times, I can't be the only one that has gone. And the minute I take a break, whether to take time off or it's the weekend, I will get sick because I finally have given my body the opportunity to rest. It's going to shut down. So what are the things that we can do to not have that, to help fight disease? And I know we technically tend to always do these 3 to 5 minute meditations. So I'm going to challenge you guys. We're going to do a longer meditation, but I feel like we did a lot today, really with trauma informed, heard that, the trauma that we experience, how we're helping clients, how we're helping others. But what I really like for these next 11 minutes is for you to really focus on you. What are the things, this is going to be a guided meditation where we're going to have a conversation with ourselves. So as you go through this, really think about what are the things that you are going to want to ignite for you next year, whether it's with relationships, with work, with your health, you'll hear the meditation. It's going to walk you through multiple different scenarios. And so really think about that. And when we come back, depending on how we're doing on time, we'll take a couple of minutes to journal. And if we don't have the whole time to do that, then I really, really encourage you to follow up and do this. This is my absolute, one of my favorite meditations. And one of the things I do want to mention, today we're sitting here, we're focusing, we're doing this meditation, but meditation doesn't always have to look like that. It's not a one size fits all. There's many times when I'm having a stressful drive, either to the office or back or somewhere where I've had a hard time. Well, I will obviously not be closing my eyes while I'm driving, but I will put on a meditation that I can just listen to and focus on some positive mantras, focus on some things that are going to help me to reset, because all of those things really make a difference. So there it goes. And then I can see you, Leslie and Regine. So if you guys can tell me if you're hearing my sound, that would be great.
Welcome to this 10-minute guided visualization meditation. To begin with, I just want you to take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Just grounding down into the moment, transitioning from where your mind was a few moments ago to where you are right now. Just giving yourself permission to have this next 10 minutes for yourself. Taking another nourishing breath in and a slow breath out. I want you now to visualize yourself walking down your favorite beach. What does the sand feel like beneath your toes? Can you hear the ocean lapping up by your feet? Just visualizing that sun as it's rising above the horizon and it kisses your skin. What's the temperature of the sun like on your skin? And as you're walking down your favourite beach, you notice someone walking towards you in the distance. And as they begin to get closer, you recognise this person. It's yourself 12 months from now. And as you look at them, you can't help but notice how vibrant they look, how much energy they have, how happy they are. And as they get closer, they say to you, "So good to see you. I'm so proud of you. Let me tell you what you've been doing for the last 12 months. So you both sit down, you and your future self 12 months from now, and you look out towards the ocean. And they begin by telling you what your relationships are like in your life right now. What your relationships are like with your family and your friends. Just taking a moment right now to visualize those 5 people that you're spending more quality time with in the future. Next, just sending them a little loving kindness. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with peace. And may you live with ease. And as they keep telling you about your relationships, and you imagine the person that you wake up to every morning and how that relationship is thriving. And if you're not waking up to anyone, you can visualize waking up full of energy and vibrant, and having a really strong connection with yourself. How are you showing the people closest to you that you really appreciate them? How are you investing into your relationships more often? Next, they begin to tell you about your health and how well you're feeling. You can tell by looking at your skin and your teeth and the hair. And they go through how you feel when you're waking up, how often you're exercising, what you're doing to feel so well, what types of food you've been eating, how you're at your ideal weight, are you meditating? If so, how often? They then talk to you about your career goals and how it's so important to love what you do, because our work plays a massive part of our life. They talk to you about the goals that you're achieving in your career. Have you been promoted? If yes, to what position? Do you have a business mentor to keep you aligned to your career goals? How are you creating a healthier workplace for yourself and for your co-workers? Are you turning up in your career happy, engaged, and productive? Next, you talk about your financial goals. How much you're earning in the next 12 months. How much you've been saving. How you have been investing. Have you begun to generate more cash flow? Do you have a side job or a hobby that starts bringing in extra money? Are you setting weekly savings goals? And how much closer are you getting to that retirement figure? Next, they talk to you about your community and purpose goals. Nurturing the purpose in life is vital when reconnecting with what we find meaningful. They tell you what type of person you want to be, the legacy you really want to leave behind here on this earth. How are you giving back to this world? Are you changing the world for the better? Are you doing a little environmental changes where you take a keep cup to the coffee store or a Hessian bag to the supermarket? Are you making some space and time for volunteering or for charity work that lights you up? Or to be more involved in your community? And if yes, what charities are creating passion for you? Next, you discuss their education and learning goals. It's so important in life to always remain curious and continue to expand your knowledge, no matter what stage of life you're in. What are you learning? How are you growing? How are you making more time every day for personal development? Are you listening to more podcasts, TED Talks, downloading audible.com and listening to books on your commute? Are you doing nano courses to upskill yourself? How are you growing? Next, they smile because they talk to you about your holiday and your fun goals. You discuss how often you're taking breaks, the holidays that you've been in over the last 12 months, the hobbies that you're doing for fun. What are you making time for? Instead of purchasing gifts, could you do memories with loved ones or friends? Is your recreational time fulfilling your needs? Is it time to outsource the stuff that doesn't add energy to your life? And as you take a beautiful breath in and a slow breath out, they turn and look at you and they say, "I'm so proud of you and I love you." And as you stand up and you give each other one last embrace, you notice them as they walk off down the beach. How happy they are, how alive they are, how full of energy they are. And you smile to yourself because you know that this is your life waiting for you. Taking a deep breath in, slow breath out, just gently feeling the ground underneath your feet, slowly wiggling your toes, scanning up your legs and notice how heavy they're feeling on the chair, on the floor, scanning up your spine. Your posture is nice and strong. Your shoulders are nice and relaxed. You have a gentle smile on your face. And then whenever you're ready, ever so slowly, opening up your eyes.
How did that feel for you guys?
Wow.
I would love to hear it because we were going to take some time to journal, but we may not have. So I would love to hear what you guys were thinking. Like, how did that feel?
I had an out-of-body experience.
Amazing. It was so amazing.
Oh, wow.
That
Felt
is
great.
Loved it.
one of my favorites.
Felt great.
I forgot where we were for a minute until Sheila said, wow.
It
Oh,
was
I'm sorry to wake
amazing.
you up. Oh my. Yes. Wow.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're here, Chris, so you can hear they can do longer than the 3 minutes.
We can do longer than the 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just think like everything you were feeling before you went in, it's always going to wait for you. But how much do we feel now? You know, I don't feel that tension I was feeling in my shoulders. I don't feel that clenching. And so just 5 minutes, to take 5 minutes to do that, like what a difference it makes.
It was like a little mini, I was at the mini spa.
It was like being at the spa.
Yes.
I'm gonna stop sharing so I can see everybody's faces.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. And so I know we're not gonna have time because I wanted to open it up for people to share and stuff, but I would love, just again, you will get back what you put into it, but just take a couple of minutes today and just journal about that and really think about like what stood out to you. Like for me, it was really thinking about like, oh my gosh, I want to be heard, 12 months from now and all the things that she's doing. So what do I need to do to ensure that, right? Like I can send that, Jane, I can send the list of the breathing. Like what can I do to make sure that that's where I am next year? Like in all the different areas, right? The healthy eating and the, how healthy you're feeling and all of that. So I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it as much as me. Like it just, that's one of my favorites. I'm so glad.
Amazing.
I know I feel all like send right now, so I'm glad everybody's
It's like,
feeling
oh,
the same way. And so that one's on Insight Timer. And what I love about that is that you can pick a theme, Yes, I can send that link to the meditation too. Like you can pick a theme. Like there are times when I'm really needing that sort of, this one is focused on self-confidence. So I'm needing that extra, like on my own, get myself in a good place. But there are times when I'm really stressed. So I'll look for that. It looks like we're going to break out, but if anybody just send me anything if you want any other feedback on that, or if you want to share that with your teams, any other meditations, like if there's anything that you want to focus on, I'm all into that. I love